Well, hello there and welcome back. This is episode 61 of my Minecraft 1.16 Let's Play. Now that we've got all that rail cannon distraction out of the way, it's time to get back to work on clearing out the water for our future slime farm. But before I do that, I'm going to need as many sponges as I can get. So I want to go on another sponge raid. I've got a couple of ideas. So I'm standing in front of my potion brewery here. And because I've been brewing up a ton of invisibility potions, and the last time I actually discovered that guardians actually just can't see you even if you like bump into them when you're invisible. So I'm not going to wear, I just re-enchanted me up some new netherite armor. I'm not going to wear this at all. I'm just going to go straight invisibility. And the last time I did a 1 hour session where I only checked a few key spots within the ocean monument to see if there were sponges there. And I want to do a comparison because I think it actually might be pretty quick with invisibility on to actually check the full ocean monument. And I want to see what the difference is if I find more sponges. So I'm going to do 2 hours of each. I'm going to do 2 hours where I only check a few key spots in the thing, and then I'm going to do 2 hours where I check the whole ocean monument in invisibility, just try and scan it as quickly as possible and see what the results are. And that should give me a good number of sponges and get us a little bit closer to that, hopefully, eventually, a shulker box full of sponges. Oh, and one other thing, conveniently, the floor of this thing is made out of these blacksmith tables, and I've got in my shulker box here, I've got this shulker box of diamond hose that I made a long time ago, and they were all unbreaking and mending, and I've actually added efficiency and fortune to them all. And I'm actually going to take one of them, and I'm only going to do this with one of them, and I'm going to get me the achievement of making myself a netherite hoe. There we go. Serious dedication. That should actually be pretty useful, and just having the shulker box in general, I might only use 1 or 2 of these, but still, the hose will definitely make it a little bit easier to mine out those sponges, both in the Guardian Temple and the ocean monuments, and when we're actually clearing out the water in our future slime farm. I've actually decided to change things up a little bit. So I'm still blasting my way in with TNT and killing all the Elder Guardians, and then I'm drinking milk in order to get rid of the mining fatigue, and then I need another water breathing potion because I just made my water breathing go away. I actually left my mob switch on, so there's no regular guardian spawning. That doesn't actually help as much as you'd think. It's still faster and easier with invisibility to kill the elder dragons, so I'm still doing that. It just makes it a little easier. I don't have to worry about guardians swimming around, but with invisibility on, they can't actually see me at all. So the first time I did this, I was basing my information on information I heard a long time ago, and I had long since lost the source. And I finally found an actual source. Not many people actually talk about where you can find sponge rooms. And I found a video by Nathan Ryan that's a really in-depth look. And I'll put a link in the description. If you're interested in any of this, you should definitely check it out because it's very, very cool. And he points out all of the locations where sponge rooms can possibly be. Over half, or well, about half of the rooms in the ocean monument cannot be sponge rooms. The bottom layer cannot have sponge rooms in it at all. And I was right for the most part that the rooms that were adjacent to this penthouse room are the most likely to have sponge rooms. But he pointed out the easiest way to check is actually to check the corners. So if there's prismarine, it can't be a sponge room. And we go over to this corner. I was actually checking towards the middle, and I might have possibly been missing some. I don't think I missed any, but it's possible that I was missing some. So the corners are the easiest way to check. It's really obvious when there is one. And then, so there's not one there. And then this is the back side right here where there's a wall here. And the opening over there is closest to the front side. So in the back middle, there can also be a sponge room there as well. So we haven't found one yet, unfortunately. But if we go over to the front side, and then we come down here, and we can go to one of these. We want to come over here. It's probably easier to see what we're doing. This is a double high room. So let's come over to this side instead and look at this side. And this is just... All right, this one's just a regular room. So if we break in through this side, we'll get this little walkway right here. And so let's use, I don't have night vision on, so I'm going to use sea lanterns to kind of see around. And you can see these are the roofs of the rooms that are below me. So this one is a double long room. Cannot be a sponge room. This one over here is the treasure room. This is where we're going to see the treasure room right there. So there are actually 5 more rooms on the back wall back there, and this takes up 2 of them. So this is actually 4 rooms combined together, and then 2 levels of 4 rooms. So I don't have to worry about the back rooms back there. And then we come over here, and this one, if the wall doesn't extend to this section right here, this could possibly be a sponge room. So we check it. It's not a sponge room. This one is a double long room that goes into that side. Can't be a sponge room. This one right here can be a sponge room. It's not, because there's prismarine there. This one can be a sponge room. It's not. And this one is already have exposed walls right here, so that one can't be a sponge room either. And then we want to check just a couple more rooms. So like I said, there's actually 5 more rooms on the back wall here. So this one's actually one of them right here, because this is a double long room, and then we can just break through these walls. It can't be where there was the treasure room, and then we got a double wide. So we got no sponges in this whole thing. But I have checked every possible room in this entire ocean monument where there could be a sponge room in a very short amount of time. I just rattled right through it. So what we do is we check those 4 corners and then the one in the middle, and then we go up to the front, and then we go into one of the rooms that was in the front corner, and then we break through the wall on the other side, and we get into this walkway. And then we check all the rooms along the walkway, and a lot of times it's fairly obvious which ones can and can't be a sponge room. And then we check, if you come back here, you'll see there's actually room for 5 more rooms on this one right here. But we don't need to check the ones that are part of the treasure room. So 2 of those are always going to be part of the treasure room. So the 5 most common places for them to be, well, the ones around here are most common, and then actually these corners right here are pretty common as well. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I mean, because I can check the whole ocean monument in not much more time than it took me to check just those extra rooms. And I think that's, I mean, there's not a lot of reason not to do all of that. And I actually done that for an hour already. And I found 8 sponge rooms and 10 ocean monuments for a total of 4 stacks and 15 in an hour. And the last time I did this for an hour, I found 4 sponge rooms and slightly more than 2 stacks. So I found double of the number of rooms, and 3 of the rooms were rooms that I wouldn't have found because they were in the back. So I found 2 that were actually in the corners in the back, and then 1 that was just one of the other rooms that could have possibly been. There's a lower chance that all those other ones, like I said, the highest chance is around the penthouse in those 2 back corners, but there is always a chance that some of the other ones might be a sponge room, and I've run into 1 of those so far. So lower chance, but still very possible, and it's really easy to check, so why not? But yeah, so that's pretty good results so far. I mean, I've only been at it for an hour. Not finding a sponge room in this one ocean monument kind of sucks a little bit, but I'm going to go at this for 3 more hours. I'm just going to do it just this method. I can't think of any reason not to. So the plan was to spend 4 hours doing that and just see how I did and figure out what the average was. But as I did it for longer and longer, I started to realize that I was indeed averaging 4 stacks of sponges per hour. And I did the math and realized it would take me about 5.5 hours to finish up my shulker box of sponges. So I decided to just go for it, and actually ended up taking me a little over 6 hours because I had a run of bad luck near the end. I also died a couple times because I forgot to drink an invisibility potion once, and the other time I drank a water breathing potion instead. And those elder gardens, they kill you quick when they can see you. So that is a lot of sponges. That's not a full shulker box, but we do have 5 stacks of wet sponges. I think they're dry sponges right now, out at the slime farm that we're working on. We're clearing out the area for it. So I'm going to go grab that so that we can have the full set of a shulker box of sponges. All right, yep, they're all dry sponges, and I'd like to make them wet because I'd like them all to be the same type. I actually want to get a shulker box of both kinds, using the same sponges, obviously. But I'll make these all wet sponges, and then I'll take them back to my furnace array and smelt the whole shulker box, make them all dry sponges. So I'm going to have to make these 5 stacks wet. So I still haven't done this ravine over here yet, so we can clear that out. And then over on this side, we've actually got this island that's part of the area that we're going to have to clear out. And around this island, there is a section that should be pretty hard to clear out with flying machines. So I'll put a wall down here, separate it out a little bit, and between the two of these, that should easily use up 5 stacks of sponges. All right, here we go. Shulker box full of wet sponges and a few extra ones here. Just over 1,800 sponges total. So let's go ahead and pop this down from the board. Chuck it in this chest over here. And then I will throw this in my furnace array and we'll have a shulker box full of dry sponges. All right, I just finished up. There we go. It splits them in half because it's got 2 shulker loaders down there. So that's just how it operates. Let's go ahead and move one over to the other. I'll toss this extra shulker box down in here. And we've got ourselves a shulker box full of dry sponges. Let's go ahead and cross that one off the list as well. I know this is just like NBT data, and they're basically the same object. And we haven't done NBT data for other things, but I don't know, it seems different for some reason. It doesn't really matter that much. It's just kind of a personal thing. We'll just go ahead and cross wet and dry sponges off the list. All right, we're back to the slime farm area, and this is the other side. So that side over there is the side that we've cleared out, and we need a clearance on both sides that needs to be about 15 blocks wide. This is quite a bit wider than that, but it didn't really cost me anything extra to make it a little bit wider. It gives me a little extra room to work with just in case. And Astazora unfortunately misunderstood me, and he set up these gravel walls, and I didn't want him to, but we were able to revise the machine here. So normally each one of these sections would be twice as tall, but I had to make them half as tall so that we could put blocks on the side, because otherwise this flying machine would stick to these gravel walls. So with the blocks on the side, that will prevent that from happening. It's a little bit awkward because now the machine, there's a gap between each level, so the machine's much longer than it was before. Shouldn't really affect anything too much. So let's see if this is working. I just set this up. I haven't actually tested it yet. So let's throw a block on there. We're just updating this piston because it's got a redstone block right on top of it. So it just needs a block update in order to detect that it's changed. It looks like everything's working so far. No problem so far. So we can just remove that block and make sure everything's still working. Fall off the edge real quick. And it looks like everything's still good here. And we should be able to run this for about a chunk before I need to go down and check the feet and make sure they're not bumping into anything. As long as everything's working properly, we can kind of see from here. If all of those operate normally, then we should be good. We got water rushing in. That's not actually a problem. It will get removed when the machine comes over it. So just keep on going. And everything's looking good. And at this point, we come down and we check and we see, is this about to bump into anything? Oh, we've lost a couple legs. So chances are what I'll probably actually do, oh, I shouldn't have left blocks here. That's probably part of the problem. Did I do that anywhere else? So probably I'll just replace these sections right here. This is every third one. This is very specifically every third one. Because those sections left behind areas where they wouldn't have cleared out water, I'm actually going to place some blocks in these sections right here where water might fall through. And then I'm going to check behind the machine. There's probably going to be spots where there's water sources. And I want to make sure those go away because water sources have a tendency to propagate themselves. And I don't want that to happen. So I got to do this just to make sure. Yep, this whole section back here has water sources. They should be only 3 blocks apart, so they shouldn't actually propagate yet. So I should be able to just strategically place sponges every few blocks. And that should get rid of most of it. And then it'll drop down, and then I'm pretty sure there's water sources down at this level as well. Yeah, water source here. Water source here. And then I can't forget to remove all those slime blocks. Let's also make sure that these ones don't stick the machine at all. Remove these pistons here. And then we can get back to operation. Hopefully. Alright, I've removed all the slime blocks. I've removed all the sponges from the back. There is no water sources back here. This is all flowing water. Won't cause any problems. Flowing water can't create water sources. So let's see if we're going to continue to have that problem. Let's just operate it once and check and see if it did the same thing. Looks like we're good. Yeah, that's good so far. Alright, looks good so far. And then I had a small hill right here. It was only a few blocks, so I actually just went ahead and removed it. So we don't have to, I can run this machine clear until we start getting into here. And then I need to worry about running into that obstacle right there. So I'll have to move the legs out of the way of that. But other than that, that's a good distance that I can run it. So let me do all that, and then we'll come back. Alright, everything's going well so far. You can see I've got some water back here. This is actually all flowing water. And it doesn't look like it, but it is all flowing water. Flowing water is just really weird. If I did the same thing where I blocked off the layers with slime blocks, it's good to check that every once in a while just to make sure that you don't have water sources, but I'm pretty certain at this point that this is all flowing water. You can actually see how it continues to drop and drop down. So that's all flowing water. I don't need to worry about it. But if we come down here, we can see we're just about to hit this little hill right here. And this is a big enough hill that I think it's too much effort to try and remove the hill itself. And we got another one coming up over here anyways. So for these 4 blocks, we want to put it up. We want to put our sea lanterns up at this level. Stupid dolphins. I believe that is here. So if we just do that, and that will actually leave this part of the machine behind. It'll just leave it behind, and that's fine. We want 5 blocks, don't we? Yep, 5 blocks. And then for every other block, we can drop down a block. We can't drop down more than 1 block at a time, because otherwise the sides of the things will stick to each other. And so I think we can do something like this. Oops. Like that, and then, yeah, we're going to have to drop it down like this. And any extra water that gets left behind, we can just sponge out of the way. I think that should work. And then we want to make sure that if we've got any spots that would get hit by these sea lanterns, we could actually just clear these small sections out of the way. But it looks like we're good here. So let's make sure this actually works, because I'm not sure how having a gap across the sections might work, but let's check it out and see. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, yeah, these didn't get pushed because they're not part of the machine anymore, so those just get left behind. Just make sure. But yeah, this will just get left behind. I'll pull it up later. But that should be able to clear the island, or the hill here, and then we'll have to worry about this when we get to it. But when we get to the other side, I'll probably actually put those back in, so we can drop back down and then adjust it to fit this one, and then just do the same thing all the way across. And we got some weirdness over here. But yeah, I mean, it takes a little while, but I mean, using a manual machine means that I can make these kinds of adjustments on the fly. And it also accepts the fact that things are probably going to break. I'm probably going to run into blocks accidentally and stuff like that. And doing a manual machine makes it a lot easier to fix it when there are problems. So yeah, I'm just going to, it'll probably take me a couple hours, but I should be able to finish up this side fairly easily and with just one go of a flying machine, whereas last time it took me a couple. So I actually forgot from last time how much of a problem that kelp can cause. You can see it actually is capable of rising the water source level, which is super annoying. And so I might actually want to preemptively go through and remove all the kelp, because this stuff causes problems. Because I was trying to remove all the water from behind the machine just to get that rid of, because, you know, we leave a few levels of water down at the bottom. So that's got to be sponged out, and it's probably beneficial to do it as you go rather than doing it all at once at the end, because some of the water sources are higher and you want to get rid of those before they start causing more water sources, etc. We can actually block this off right here. But yeah, kelp. I forgot about that one. It's a problem. This has actually ended up going pretty smoothly. It's definitely helped a lot that Astazora has been helping. He's been monitoring the situation down below, and so that has actually saved me quite a bit of time. So we're almost to the end here, just a few more blocks to go. I'm actually going to remove the pistons and the observers, so we'll end up with one big solid wall of honey of slime, and that should get rid of all these water gaps right here. And it should be fun to watch all of this water just kind of slowly drift away. There'll still be some water sources left behind, but yeah, we're almost done here. So Asta and I set up this one section right here. This is one of the side walls between the two ends. Doesn't need to be wide. This one's only 7 wide. So it wasn't too difficult. We used the regular machine for that. So with this machine, we set up the wall behind it, like after we were done. And honestly, it was a little disconcerting because like we had water flowing in from the sides and it kept looking like there were water sources forming, and there never were. It was fine. Like everything worked fine. But in order to check and make sure, we actually had to build the wall up to the machine in order to even check in the first place. And honestly, I kind of enjoyed the peace of mind of having the machine with the walls already. So for the other side over here, I've already set up this other machine and I've already set up the walls. I think I prefer this method. Like we discovered it on accident. I never would have done this on purpose, but having done it on accident, I actually kind of prefer this method because again, you get the peace of mind of knowing that water can't flow in from the sides. So, and it's not that much more complex of a machine. It's just got a couple extra layers. It's not really that much more difficult to manage or anything like that. So that's what I'm going to use for this last wall here. I actually prefer this. So I'll put a template in the description if anybody's interested in this, but don't ever do this unless you absolutely have to. Like removing ocean on this kind of scale, this kind of thing doesn't. The flying machines don't really work with ocean monuments, anyways. Like that's the one other time you have to remove water, and like each one of these sides is the size of an ocean monument on its own. And then yeah, like just don't ever do this because I'm definitely regretting this decision. We're going to have all kinds of other complications. Like as we dig down deeper and we try to use bombers to clear this area out, any caves underground are going to be water-filled caves, and that's going to cause more problems. And there's going to be more obsidian because there's more water. So it's going to be all kinds of extra complications. So don't do this unless you absolutely have to, because it's not a good idea. We should not have done the slime farm inside of an ocean. We really shouldn't have. But we're here. We're gonna do it. I mean, I think there's some value to it. It's kind of fun, and being able to do 32 slime chucks should be very, very cool. But yeah, and if you do ever have to do it, then I guess this flying machine works really well, and you can do it as wide as you need to as well. Alright, that actually went the smoothest out of all of them. So that is all 4 sides completely drained. There's still plenty more to do even before we can even run the bombers, let alone set up the World Eater. But with that, I think I've earned myself a break. because I've got a few other side projects I'd like to work on that'll help break the tedium of this project right here, which is a very big project. So it turns out that neither I nor Asta have enough nautilus shells to actually make a conduit. We have plenty of hearts of the sea, but I've got like 6 nautilus shells, and you need 8 to make a conduit. And I've just got the 1 conduit in my base. I've lost a couple of conduits along the way, but we both got plenty of hearts of the sea, just no nautilus shells. And nautilus shells is something that's on my list, although I'm realizing now that getting a full shulker box of nautilus shells might actually be pretty darn difficult. We'll see how that works, but it seems like it's actually going to be nearly impossible. So we'll have to see how many we get from this farm, but it shouldn't be too fast as far as nautilus shells. It should get us enough to make some conduits, but we'll see about the shulker box of them. But tridents is another thing on my list. That one should be fairly easy to get a shulker box of, and I've never gotten a trident in this world. I've killed a ton of drowned, including a ton with tridents, and I've never had one drop. And Asta's gotten one, and he actually lost his almost immediately. And I've never had one. I've never had a trident. And I want to play with some tridents, and I want some conduits, even though we probably don't need conduits anymore for the specific slime farm that we're working on now. It still would be very useful to do that in the future. So I found this river biome here that it's very wide and it bends on itself, so we can maximize. We've got a 47 by 47 space that we can utilize, and I think this one is one of the best ones available that maximizes amount of river biome space that we have available to us. And it's pretty close to the Guardian farm. It's only a few hundred blocks away, which means it's pretty close to my base. So I'm going to build up a drowned farm here. Mango's river biome drowned farm. It's not a super fast farm, but as far as drowned farms go, I think it's about as fast as you get. You could possibly build a perimeter and then put it down further lower in the world, and you might get like 15% more, but that seems like a lot of wasted effort to get 15% more drowned. This seems to work okay, but again, it's not super fast. So I've been at this for a little while, not really sure how long, half an hour to an hour maybe. And I've gotten way more rotten flesh than I will ever need. We got 12 nautilus shells and 2 tridents, so it shouldn't take too long to get a shulker box full of tridents, but a shulker box of nautilus shells might actually be impossible. But I finally got a trident. And with that, my transformation is complete. I've demonstrated my dominion over the creatures of the sea. I've demonstrated control over the sea itself. And now that I have my trident, I proclaim myself Poseidon, Lord of the Sea! Thanks for watching, people. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Bye now.